I originally met Val Colton of V-MODA back in 2011, where I first tried out his headphones. He put a pair on my head and asked me to listen to my own music. I wasn't really a fan of his headphones back then, as they were aimed at DJs. Now, DJs have a little slightly different requirements for headphones than do more people like myself who listen to a wide variety of music. Now, they tend to listen in clubs at fairly high volumes. Now, and most headphones have a significant treble peak, and when you're listening at high volumes, that can very quickly damage your hearing. So he designed headphones without the treble peak so that they could listen at louder volumes to club style music, and that's what they did very, very well. But now, under the stewardship of Roland, how has V-MODA's new M200 turned out? Because these aren't DJ headphones, these are studio monitoring headphones, or rather portable studio monitoring headphones. So I decided to try them out. The M200s come in this little neat case which you can either chuck in your bag or hang off your bag, and it's nice because it actually has a waterproof zip on the side, which is very handy. But if you're looking at them, you're thinking, wait, that looks a little bit small for a pair of headphones, and that's because the M200s fold. Now, if you're not familiar with V-MODA's folding mechanism, let me take you through some of the interesting points about the design. Now, Val designed his headphones to be very tough, obviously, so they're likely to be abused by DJs, thrown in bags and thrown around, and so they have to be very strong. And he made them so strong that they actually qualify for use in the US military. That's how strong they are. They have things such as you have metal yokes on here and metal parts, and although while the body of the headphones is plastic, most of all the critical parts are metal. And so that made for an interesting challenge when designing something that would actually fold, because your normal hinges kind of are a weak point in many headphones. I have various headphones that are foldable, but the hinges are most well known for breaking. So he ended up designing a pair of springy headphones that fold in. So you grab the cups, give them a good shove, and then a bit of a squish, and well, they fold into this neat little package that can go in the case. The only downside to this, of course, is while easy to unfold, just give them a good pull to get out. When they go around your neck, well, they don't fold flat against your chest. They do push a little bit on the inside of your neck here, though it is possible to wear them reasonably comfortably because, putting anything like a pair of headphones around your neck is going to be somewhat uncomfortable. And Val would go around wearing a pair of his headphones around his neck all the time to show them off. So speaking of showing them off, you can also get custom plates on the side. You can get them engraved, or you can get some very fancy and blingy plates for them, which cost way more than the headphones themselves. So if you're some famous DJ, you can actually super bling up your headphones to kind of show off your brand, or just to show that you have lots of money and that you're super successful. Now, the original review pair I actually got had a pair of fancy plates, but this is a replacement pair which does come with the normal black plates. But you can check out the options on vmoda.com for the kind of things you can do. Now, as far as other things that come with the M200s is, of course, a cable. Now, the interesting thing is that these have a dual entry. Well, actually, they have a single entry. You can choose left or right, and the side you don't use has this little kind of V-MODA shaped plug here, which you can just pop out. And it actually it's a locking plug, so the actual cables for the M200 can optionally be locking. Now, the first cable it came with was this generic kind of smartphone cable. It has their funky 45-degree angle plug that goes into your phone and is very easy to push in at this particular angle. And then on the other end, you have a button and microphone and a 3-pole connector to go into the headphones. But one of the unique things that the M200s have is that actually their internal connectors are potentially balanced. The positive and negatives have their own internal connection. So that means that you can use a balanced cable if you so desire. Now, it's kind of overkill on a pair of $300 headphones, but Roland actually sent me a balanced cable that came in the box, and it seems to come in the box with everyone's pair. Now, this is rather odd because on one end you have, the 4-pole connector to go into the headphones, and it has a little locking tab in here so you can lock it in securely. But on the other end, it also has a 3.5mm connector, and it's not a smartphone connector. It's actually uses a now defunct balance standard, which was introduced by Hi-Fi Man and seen on some products from IFI as well. Now, while this standard is defunct, Roland have assured me that they are actually going to produce, say, a 4.4mm Pentacon cable, which will be the current standard for balanced, and hopefully the standard going forward. But I thought, this is kind of odd, but it turned out, for my review, it turned out to be a good thing. And why was that? I actually had a device, or have a device, I should say, which still uses that standard, and that's IFI's XDSD. Now, I don't know if XDSD's forward will use it, but while I use this primarily for reviews, it was more than sufficient to drive headphones, and it has the 3.5mm balance standard, which of course is now defunct, as I said. It also has a nice little feature on here. It has a 3D mode and an extra bass mode. And why is that relevant? Well, let's talk about the sound to give you an idea. Now, the sound with the M200s is, well, they are monitoring headphones. So they're not going to be really tuned for people to listen to music in general. They're designed for, say, someone going out somewhere and recording a piece of music and wanting to evaluate whether his recording was up to scratch and whether everything was done correctly. So neither are they super resolving, and nor are they super exciting to listen with. There are some kind of interesting limitations that they get out of the box. They have very large drivers, so you do get a pair of full range headphones that can do low bass up to treble, but they're kind of squished into these small cups. And so they're not going to do anything, at really high volume, really brilliantly well. And at first, when I put them on my head, actually, the clamp was sufficiently tight that was pushing the cups in quite a way. The whole thing sounded very kind of compressed in. And so I pulled them out a bit from my ears, and I thought, that sounds a little bit better. And it turned out that with a bit of a stretch of the headband, and of course it's a very strong headband, that I could actually get them to sit a little bit better on my head, maybe not quite applying quite as much pressure, not squishing the ear pads quite as much. And that made for a little bit more spacious sound that was a little bit easier to listen with. And that sound, of course, is very kind of flat and neutral. You're not going to get a lot of bass. There's going to be bass there, but it's going to be kind of fairly weak. And the treble too, you're not going to have that kind of treble sparkle you get with, say, good pair of plainer headphones at around the same price. It's just not going to be there. And the mid-range is going to kind of sound very upfront and kind of very in your face and a little bit kind of wonky compared to a pair of regular, more kind of audiophile headphones. So in that, it turned out as I said, that I could use the 3D mode and the extra bass mode on the IFI XDSD to give a little bit of a boost to respectively the treble, which the 3D mode seems to bring out a little bit better, and the bass with the extra bass mode. Now, some of the devices I've tried with, which have bass boost, like some of the FIO products, sometimes have a little bit too much bass boost. This just does a little bit of a bass boost, and the 3D seems to do a little bit of a treble boost, so it kind of gives it just a touch, slight V shape that pushes the headphones towards what I call listening neutral. And listening neutral is, compared to speakers, if they were flat sounding, listening neutral for headphones to me is very slightly V-shaped, which is a bit more bass and a bit more treble than completely flat. And that kind of produces a generally neutral and listenable sound. It actually made these quite listenable. Now, they're not going to be super detail monsters. I mean, as they're closed back headphones, and as I said, the driver space is limited in there, so it kind of makes them sound a little bit compressed. Kind of makes them sound a little bit like a pair of noise cancelling headphones, that kind of compression. The kind of clarity, you feel like something's a little bit missing with noise cancelling headphones, where it feels like there's a little bit of a haze over the sound. Well, that's kind of what I got here. I mean, vocals were kind of upfront and clear, reasonably so, but again, they're going to be beaten by a pair of open back planers at this kind of price. I mean, the people who are buying these are not after that super clarity, because with that super clarity comes the sacrifice of having open back headphones where all the noise leaks in and all the sound leaks out, which is no good for a pair of monitoring headphones. So there is a compromise here. But for a pair of closed back headphones, I mean, someone might buy them for use on the go. I mean, on public transport, they're going to be more usable than a pair of open back headphones. If you do want a kind of neutral pair of headphones that you can EQ to your tastes rather than a pair of very colored headphones, which a lot of inexpensive headphones can be. Things like your Meze 99 Classics or whatever are very kind of bass tilted for kind of modern pop music. These are a little bit more neutral, and although, as I said, they don't have that treble sparkle, they don't have that kind of bass thump quite there, but with a little bit of tuning or EQing, and they can actually sound pretty reasonable. So as things go, well, they're an interesting pair of headphones, and it was kind of odd that Roland chose more kind of audiophile type listeners to evaluate them, but it's been an interesting experience all the same. If you did find this useful, do give me a thumbs up and a subscribe to actually see when I'm going to produce more videos, and also hit that bell button so that you do get notified, because I have a lot more stuff coming out. Also, these videos are thanks to everyone whose names you see on screen, and actually many more people beyond them. These people are my patrons, and my patrons actually have already seen this video. They can also ask my advice anytime, and that could save that saved them a lot of money in making sure that they buy the stuff that's going to be suitable for their needs and not the stuff that's going to be unsuitable. So if you did find my videos helpful, do consider becoming a patron and help me make these videos. So also thanks to Roland for sending me a pair of these for review. And once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you online.